What's up, guys? Welcome to the Coach Fits podcast, where we simplify exercise and nutrition so you can get leaner, stronger, and become more energized. I'm your host, Brian Fitzsimmons. Let's get it started. Hello, and welcome to the podcast. Another week, another fun-filled episode. Let's see. Before we get into it, some updates. This will air on Wednesday. This past Sunday was my birthday, so I'm officially 29 years old. So, yeah, hanging on for dear life to the 20s. From what I hear, it's all downhill after 30. No, I'm just kidding. I know a lot of people that listen to this podcast. A big chunk of you guys are in the, the 45 to 65 year age group. And I know there's plenty of you shaking your heads like, oh, wait till he gets here. I know. I've trained a bunch of people. I know it's coming. And I guess it's like it's that case of being young and thinking like now is everything's important. Everything is like the end of everything, whatever. I'm not that cynical about it. 29, in all honesty, 29 is just another number to me. 30 is like the big one. And then it's like, okay, like I'm officially embracing that whole, like, I call it the dad mindset, where it's like, whatever, it's another birthday. I'm not going to go crazy over it. Just another day, do what I got to do, maybe enjoy it a little bit. Yeah, I have no doubt my girlfriend has plenty planned. Very excited for that. Almost forgot. Anybody that is tuning in on YouTube, I'm taking a more aesthetic approach by going with a angled visual this time. Hopefully you guys like it. That's what all the big YouTubers who do podcasts seem to be doing, and the Instagrammers. So where there is greatness, there are clues. So I'm hoping that this is one of those clues that pays off big time for your aesthetic pleasure. Let's see, is there anything else? Nope, just everybody seems to be, on the whole, taking their fitness very seriously, which I love to see. A lot of people asking about how they can start training and all that. Very excited. Really wasn't expecting it during December of all months, because typically December is pretty slow. Usually this is like the time to coast, and then New Year's Eve rolls around, resolutions, and we're off and running. But I think as the years go on, as we get smarter, we realize New Year's resolutions aren't all they're cracked up to be. They're a good reason to get started, but in reality, if you want to start now. There's no time, there's no reason to wait. But yeah, I won't go too deep into that because we have a lot to cover today. So let's get into it. First topic I want to start talking about is different kinds of wealth. This is like, when people hear wealth, automatically they see dollar bills, y'all. And that's usually where it ends. But wealth can mean many, many different things. And I got a front row seat to this, training plenty of people, because I have had the pleasure of working with people that maybe physically weren't where they wanted to be, but they were wealthy in many other areas that I was not. Like being a young kid, being in shape, I'm like, oh, I feel good, like I'm awesome. And then it's like, I've got all these other areas of my life that these people are professionals at. Like they are so good at this and I suck. So we're going to go through all of those, and maybe you could use it as like a little evaluation tool for stuff that you want to work on. So yeah, let's dive in. I nailed it down to 4. There's probably more, but there's 4 big ones that I think of and that other like people have brought up in podcast, books, and stuff like that. First one, obviously financial. Okay, financial wealth, pretty easy to quantify. How much money's in your bank, like how much expendable income do you have, how much debt, all that, yada, yada, yada. Okay, we know that wealth. There's physical health. And that's not how many pounds you can put on the bar. That's not how long you can run. That's like, I consider that, how happy is your doctor when they look at your blood work? How good do you feel? How is like your energy throughout the day? How is your libido? How is like your general mood? That's all physical wealth. The next thing would be relationships. How good of a relationship do you have with your significant other, with your friends, with your parents, your kids? Like your coworkers. It all adds up. It all adds up. And those like relationships are a big part of life. Even if, let's say, you don't really have a whole lot of friends that you hang out with, that's still, relationships come in many different shapes, and they shape our lives. They shape our biases. They shape our, like, the way we see the world. So very big deal. And then there's spiritual. So I know not everybody, like, religious wise, believes in the same thing. I'm just talking about like being at peace with the way that you view life, and like trying to improve the way, I guess that you could say, the way that you've come to grips with like how you're living, and like that you're happy with the way that you're living. So for like simple answer with like Christianity, like how happy are you with your relationship to God? Or atheism, you could be like, how dead set am I in my beliefs? Am I content with that? Like, am I happy with the way that I'm living my life based on these beliefs? Same goes for any religion, really. I'm not going to go too deep into that because this is not what that podcast is about, just to give examples. So yeah, I mean, when I was working with people, there were some people that, like, for example, they like were type 2 diabetics. Like, they came in and couldn't lift 5 pounds, but at the same time, I'm working with like freaking Mother Teresa, like the nicest person I've ever met. And they tell me how they take care of their family, and like how they pretty much sacrifice every part of their day so others can have a better life. And I'm just like, holy crap, I could never be that selfless. Like, that's insane. And that is like a type of like relationship wealth that I am striving to get closer to. Like, I know I'm never going to be at that level, but it's like, wow, I want to try and get to the point where like I'm happy with like how my relationships are. Like, for example, like when it came to like work and being with a girlfriend, like I've had relationships fail because of work. And it's like, a lot of people have that happen sometimes, where it's like you prioritize one thing over the other. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I'm saying in my case, like, I knew I had to make a move because the person I'm with, like at the moment, I'm obsessed with and I want to spend all the time in the world with, I got to make a change. So that factored into that whole decision to like do what I needed to do and leave and start my own thing. Um, and then when it came to financial, like obviously financial is an easy comparison. I've worked with some people that like have so much money, and I'm just like, I don't even know where to begin to get to that level. Like, I'll pick their brain on finances and like investments. And I'll be honest, it's like they're speaking another language sometimes. So yeah, just so, and I think a lot of people in their 20s that like are personal trainers and stuff like that get all caught up in like the physical part of it. They're like, everybody needs to be in shape and all this and stuff. And yes, very true. It does help better quality of life, helps you feel better about yourself. But it's just one piece of the puzzle. And the closer you can get to raising the level of all of those areas, the better overall approach we have to life, like the better quality of life. It's not all just about like lifting weights and eating well. It's about covering your bases in every way you possibly can. And I think that's a pretty good spot to leave that on. The next topic, nutrition. Now this section, I am going to save you guys a lot of time and a lot of money. The main thing I'm going to be getting at is, do not, when it comes to this holiday season and just in general throughout the year, don't waste your money on diet books or even like diet systems or like nutritional books or like a video series and stuff like that. Because when it comes to what is going to work, when it comes to the stuff that's going to get you the results that you want, everything's out there for free. And if somebody's trying to sell you on a book, they're probably extending or exaggerating the truth. And in most cases, they do, because that's how you sell books. When it comes to making a book, like, you need a storyline, you need a villain, you need a hero, and then you need some sort of a fix at the end, like a conclusion, a climax where it's like, boom. And that's how you do it, when nutrition just isn't that way. Okay. Like in a lot of the popular books, you see they demonize one thing. They set the villain, whether that be sugar, artificial sweeteners, fats, protein, vegetables. That carnivore camp somehow found a way to make vegetables a villain. Honestly, that's impressive. But yeah, and then there's the hero, which is like intermittent fasting or keto or like cutting out all sugar completely or Atkins or something like that. There's always that filling a void. And then the fix is, oh, if you do this, it's going to fix all your problems, which we know there have been many people that have failed on every diet. Every single diet has had people lose weight. They've also had people that have had no success whatsoever. The real key to it is to, one, find an approach that works for you. And two, if you can't find an approach, find somebody that is, find an expert or somebody that's had a lot of success with a lot of different types of people that know more than just the one way. Because if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You need to find somebody with a big tool belt. So like, for example, if you, for some reason, don't do well, sneeze coming. Sorry about that. I'll edit it out if I remember to. Back to the point. If you find, like, let's say you're the type of person that when you have breakfast, it leaves you groggy and you just feel like you want to sleep the second you get to work, and you're working with somebody that only knows 3 meals a day. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You need your breakfast, and they just refuse to bend because all these like studies that they have pulled out of their ass to support their claim and their confirmation bias. And they refuse to let that go. And they're just convincing, and it just doesn't work for you. You're not going to have success. Like, you need somebody that knows about intermittent fasting, or better yet, somebody that knows about both approaches. Okay. Or like something in that realm. And same goes for working out. Like, if you go to a CrossFit gym, you are going to do CrossFit. If you go to a powerlifting gym, you're going to go and do powerlifting. If you find somebody that is a true coach that can manipulate the variables to fit the way that you like to work out and check a lot of boxes, that's your best bet. Okay. Not just subscribing to one ideology and then unfortunately falling for all the crap that they ignore, which happens a lot, especially in these diet books. Because for anybody who doesn't know, like, confirmation bias is just looking up a bunch of shit to support your claim and inadvertently or intentionally sometimes avoiding the studies and the different anecdotal like stories that don't support the claim. A good example of this is the China study. For those of you that don't know, the China study, actually, let me look this up, because now one of the best parts about me taking this angle is that I could be my own Jamie, like on Joe Rogan. Let's see, China study. So I have all of it in front of me. Okay. So the China study spanned 65 different counties. I thought it was countries, but counties, and collected data on 367 variables and generated over 8,000 significant correlations between nutrition, lifestyle factors, and variety of diseases. Pretty much, they tried saying that animal protein causes all of these negative effects, but they come to find out that a lot of the claims they were making were not statistically significant. So when you say something's not statistically significant, like, the differences are so small, they're basically negligible. And that's what a lot of these things thrive on, is blowing up significant numbers and saying, oh, it's like a 200% increase. Like, you see it all the time in supplements, and it'll be like 0.0001 of something, increase to like 0.0002 of something, and it's like 100% increase. And it's like, okay, so it's like you had a penny and now you have two. Does that mean you're a millionaire? No. And it doesn't make a big difference in the grand scheme of things. So, and on top of that, they ignored a lot of conflicting data or completely contradicting data. And that's another thing you got to take into account with these like nutrition books. A lot of times, integrity is not a guarantee. You can have a lot of people pushing for their supplements to get bought, or like there's certain systems and stuff like that. So anytime you see a diet book or any kind of like book where it's promoting some sort of ideology, and then you go and look and see that they sell stuff that is connected to that, that's a pretty good tell that they're a little bit biased, if not completely full of shit. Like you see this a lot with like Game Changers, with if you guys have seen that Netflix documentary, I think it was Steven Spielberg. Jamie, pull this up. Game Changers. There we go. Okay. So he's not one of the direct producers, but the team, as it's known, includes James Cameron, who his wife is the head of this big movement, this big push for one plate a day being completely plant-based. Not a bad idea. I mean, you could definitely improve a lot of health markers that way. You can improve your consumption of vegetables that way. But on top of that, they own a pea protein company, like a pea protein powder company. And during Game Changers, that whole film, I can't even call it a documentary because it's just like there's just some flat out lies on there. And just if you saw the blood test part, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They just like, it's fear mongering, nothing more, complete crap as far as a film. But it's all geared towards like scaring people away from consuming meat because they're pushing an agenda that feeds their profits. So this is stuff that you got to think about when you're about to consume something. Now, I personally fell victim to this because it happens. Like you don't know a lot about a subject and you want to trust that this information is accurate, but sometimes it just isn't, or it's very one-sided. Like I personally wanted to learn more because my population of clients is predominantly women who are on the border of perimenopause, and some are like full on in menopause. And as a coach, when it comes to nutrition, workouts, and just general advice that I can give, like knowing more and more about that helps me help them tremendously. And so I'm trying to dive in and figure out like how I can apply this information and help them out. So I picked up a book, and I come to find out as I'm listening to it, I'm like, there's a couple of red flags. Like they keep bringing up this one thing over and over and over again, like it's a fix all. And I'm like, it just sounds like bullshit. And luckily, my girlfriend is a doctor of internal medicine. So she has like enough of a filter where she can tell me that this is bullshit or not. Like that's what is really good about formal education, that it helps build a filter, because all the stuff in like textbooks and stuff that's not as fun to read has been filtered through and like has been peer reviewed. So you know that that stuff is reliable, not as entertaining, but you know. So she's gone through all that. And I started spewing out some of these things that have been like popping up in the book. And she's like, well, not quite, like that's a bit of a stretch, a bit of an exaggeration. And I'm like, shit, I fell for it. So if you have that like little voice in the back of your head that's like, I don't know, then it could be worth asking somebody with a really good filter and like trusting experts. Because at the end of the day, if you don't know something, like if you don't have a background in something, then your filter just isn't that great. And that's not a knock on you. That just means that you got to find people that you trust, that are reliable, and that can tell you if something is BS or not. Like you see it a lot now. I mean, I don't want to go off on a tangent as far as like current events and everything like that, but like when it comes to health advice, you got to find people that you trust. And that when it comes to trusting people, that's people that don't have agendas. So no politicians, okay, no media outlets. Like go to people that you trust, like a doctor who is certified by a board and held to a standard to give you facts, because if they don't, they can lose that license. So those are the people that you should trust. And when it comes to like nutrition, okay, trust people that have many different options. Like if you hear somebody say, this is the way, guarantee that's probably bullshit. Okay, because everybody who knows their shit when it comes to nutrition says, well, this can work for some people, and they provide context where it's like, well, if you're this type of person that this works for, prefers this, like those are the people that you want to listen to more times than not. Same when it comes to working out. Like, it's like, you don't want somebody that's like, oh, to get big muscles, you just got to lift heavy. No, that's not the guy you listen to. You listen to the one that's like, well, based on your anatomy, like it would probably make sense to do this, or like, because you have this injury, like doing this a certain way would probably be best for you in this situation. Like, you notice the wording there. Okay. Anytime it's like short to the point, that little like sound bite that we're all craving, just do this, that's a red flag. Yeah, I think that's a good spot to end that before I keep going. So we'll put that one to bed. All right. Now, last but not least, okay, my favorite portion, the workout portion, we're going to talk about gym anxiety and fear around the gym. So I had a really good conversation with somebody. It was in the TikTok Messenger, and she was telling me, like, I just am so scared to go to the gym for the first time. And as a bro, like as a guy who's been in the gym for, let's see, 29, so 16 years, like this was like a foreign concept to me. I was like, what do you mean? The gym's amazing. I love it there. But then seeing it from her perspective, and then I went to a commercial gym that same day or the day after. I go in and I'm like, oh my God, this is intimidating for people. Like I could totally see what she's talking about. Like, you look around and the people that like you think know what they're doing are the biggest assholes in the gym, the ones grunting and like wearing next to nothing and like giving you mean looks. And that's who you think like knows their stuff, and like that's what you need to know. No. But that, yeah, before I go off on that, like that is not what the gym should be. I mean, in all honesty, if we could just make a gym for those people, like the powerlifting gyms and all that, not to say powerlifting is like that or anything. There's tons of people I know, great powerlifters, nicest people in the world. But if you want to take it to that level of intensity, go to one of those gyms. But for the majority of people, the general public, like finding a gym where people are just there to better themselves, not judge anybody, which is most people there, that's what would be ideal. So if you, like, a couple examples of this, like Planet Fitness, like people love talking shit on Planet Fitness, but I mean, this is one of those places you can go where a lot of people are in your shoes. Like they're starting out. It's like it's a starter gym. You have all the basics there. You can do what you got to do. You don't have to go crazy, and you can be around other people that are supportive. And like, at least in this area of the world, like Crunch Fitness, like once the college kids are not around, and like if it's not right after high school, like if you avoid those times and you go when like the adults are there, it's usually about the same vibe. Like it's usually just a lot of people just doing their thing, focusing on themselves. So that being said, one of the things that can help somebody if they have a lot of anxiety around this, if they like are genuinely scared to go into the gym out of fear of judgment, out of fear of looking dumb, or like something like that, just know everybody's there to better themselves, and they're more focused on themselves. And if they're not focused on themselves and you think that they're judging you, they're the biggest loser there. So they don't even deserve your attention. But to help with that other stuff that we can control about not knowing what you're doing, about just getting rid of the stuff that we have control over, here's a basic plan to follow so that you know exactly what to do when you get there. You can look like you know what you're doing, and you can have a good workout. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. I forgot to breathe. Slowing it down. So 3 steps here. We got plan, execute, reflect. First off, plan out what you're going to do. Make sure that you have all your exercises ready to go, like either in like a notepad or some sort of place where you can refer back, because when anxiety hits, when like you get caught up in looking around you, you forget a lot of stuff, and it's easy to get caught up in everything around you and completely forget your plan. So have somewhere where you can refer back. I like a notepad or like an Excel sheet or something like that. Like a Google Sheets on the phone works really well. That's actually how I started out, like coaching people, was on Google Sheets, because it's just so easy to put stuff on there. But yeah, plan it out. When you plan it out, I know a lot of people don't really know where to begin when it comes to what they should be doing. Should I do arms one day, chest the other, back the other? If you're a beginner, this is your first time hitting the gym or like first time getting back to the gym, full body is the way to go, because you could go 2-3 times a week and get a lot of progress doing full body. So ideally, you want to do 5 things. And the 5 basic movement patterns are pushing, pulling, squatting, hinging, and then there's core. Now, core, I'll get into a little bit more, but core involves a lot of different stuff. So if there's anybody, if you've heard anybody talk about different types of core training, I'll get into that a little bit more. Let's start with the pushing. A lot of people think that means doing push-ups or doing chest press, but I like, especially for beginners, doing a cable press. Cable, you can control for the weight, make sure that your form is really good. It's like a push-up, but it's like a deloaded push-up. So, and there's cables all over the gym usually, so you won't have to wait on somebody and have that awkward conversation. Hey, how many sets you got left? Okay, there's a million cables. Cables are your best friend. Dumbbells are your best friend. And after that, so you don't even have to go anywhere, do a cable row. So you just keep it at the exact same level you would for the press. And now instead of pressing it, you're pulling it. So now you got the muscles in your chest and shoulders, and now you got the muscles in your back, your arms, every muscle has been hit. Now, once you're done with that, you can go into squats. Now, everybody knows squats. When it comes to that, you want to make sure that you have like a cutoff point. So doing them to like a box or some sort of seat or something like that could be a huge help. And just keep it basic. Do a goblet squat. You don't have to use the barbell day one. I would recommend not doing the barbell or the Smith machine or any machine day one, because people are just asymmetrical from the get-go. Like, life makes us do things more on one side than the other. Like, nobody's perfectly symmetrical. So doing stuff like free weights and cables helps a lot. So you're not going to be in pain when you leave. So doing a goblet squat to a box, basic movement, you get a lot out of it and it feels really good. Now, when you're done with that, we need something to hit the back of your legs, like the hamstrings, the butt. That's where you could do RDLs, or if you, a lot of times with hinging, people that have had back pain in the past, sometimes that doesn't feel too great. So doing stuff like hamstring curls, that's where you can use a machine, doing some hamstring curls, or doing bridges on the ground where you literally don't need any equipment at all. You just lay flat on the ground with your knees bent and you push your butt up in the air, up and down. Sometimes that could be more than enough, especially for beginners. And then last but not least is a core exercise. With that, you keep it basic. Do a plank for 30 to 60 seconds. Or if you want something a little more fun, you could do like a loaded carry. So doing like holding one dumbbell in your hand or 2 dumbbells in your hand and walking back and forth for 30 seconds. Or you could do a bird dog, where that's the one where you're on your hands and knees and you stretch one arm forward and the opposite leg back and you go in and out, and then you switch and do it the other way. You could do a side plank. Like, there's a million different things you can do, because the core can get worked in many different ways. There's anti-rotation, anti-flexion, anti-extension, rotation, locomotion, like rotary stability. Like, if you Google any of those, you're going to get a million different things you could do. So pick one, find one you like, and do that. Now, I know this probably went over a lot of people's heads, because like it can get confusing. There's a lot of options, but I will put in the show notes the videos to everything that I just said, because I do have YouTube videos for over 100 exercises. So even if you don't want to do the ones that I suggested, or you have like, say your gym doesn't have cables or something, do like a floor press and a quad row. Like, you can look on the YouTube playlist and you have your pick. Just pick 5 things. So to recap: something pushing, something pulling, some sort of squatting, some sort of hinge, and a core. And then when you do that, your body is going to get worked. It's not going to get torched. Okay. You're going to feel good. Like, that's the key. You don't want to be dripping sweat at the end of this first workout. You want to have a little bit of a sweat going, nothing super duper crazy. And when you leave, the key is to feel better than when you walked in. Okay. Oh, I almost forgot. Cool down. Very important, especially day one. I've seen a lot of people go really, really hard. They get really dizzy and they're like, oh my God. Okay. Cool down is super important on day one, because your body does not know how to come down from this naturally, because you haven't put it through it recently. So go back, okay, on the treadmill and walk at a good pace. And then slowly, as the minutes go by, dial the speed down, and that'll help. And I forgot, but I think I completely skipped over the warm up, which, again, warm ups can get overly complicated. Don't do anything nuts. Just go on the treadmill, put it up on an incline for 5 minutes, and that's your warm up. And you have a chance to look at the gym and see what you need to do and where the equipment is. That's the big thing in the beginning, is figuring out where everything is, because that could be a huge, huge help as far as like not looking like you're lost. So sandwich that workout with the treadmill: 5 minutes to start, 5 minutes to end. In the beginning, get that heart rate up, look at the gym, see what you got to do. And then at the end, you want to cool down, slowly bringing that heart rate down for 5. You could even stretch it to 10 minutes, just nice, easy pace. And then just keep dialing it down until you're barely walking. And that should feel pretty damn good on your way out. Now we're on to, we did plan, we have executed, and now we're reflecting. When you're in your car, it's easy to get caught up in what's next in your day, but just take 5 minutes, even less, a minute, and think about how good that felt. Think about how accomplished you feel. Think about how good it would feel a month, 2 months, 6 months from now, after doing that for 2 to 4 times a week, and how much better you're going to feel. Okay. And think about that next time. Like, think about things that'll get you going back to the gym, because when you think about the accomplishment, the good feeling that comes with it, that's the stuff that builds consistency. Not looking up motivational videos every time just to get your ass out of bed to go there. Okay. Think about the results. Think about the good feelings that come with what you're doing, and chase that good feeling, chase the results. And then that consistency builds long-term results and leaves you happier, healthier, and more active for life. Big, big deal. Wow. I really thought that was not going to be that smooth, but that ended pretty well. And that's that for that. I think I covered everything in as much detail as I possibly could. I hope that you guys got a lot out of this. Especially that last part. Like, if you have a friend or a family member that, like, like maybe they're not telling you, but like anytime you bring up the gym or something, they like avoid the subject. You think they might be a little scared or something. Just share this with them. Tell them to skip to the end, go to that anxiety part. This guy has a good plan. Give it a try. So yeah, be a good friend, be a good family member, send it their way. And hey, that would increase your relationship wealth. Look at that. It all ties in. All right. Well, I'll stop talking your ear off. I hope that you got a lot out of this, and I hope you guys have an amazing week. See you next time. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a 5-star review. If you found the information helpful, go ahead and share it with somebody you think could use it too. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.